This is the beginning of the video I've threatened to do for a while. I had originally wanted to do this in as one video, but I think I'm going to just do this as in parts. So, video number 1 for, so you think you want to hike the Appalachian Trail, do you? Let me point out that this is my opinion. It's not based on nothing. I've gotten 600 miles, roughly 600 miles under my belt now on the AT. I've been camping and canoeing most of my life, so I have some frame of reference. But this is an approach. It's not the only approach. My suggestion would be to try some of it, see how you feel about it. If it doesn't work for you, don't do it. If it does, do it. And, you know, it's kind of simplistic, but that's how it works. Next, although this will include some training suggestions, remember that people have done this with no training whatsoever in all sorts of physical conditions, and they've still made it. The key here is listen to your body. No matter what you want to do, if your body says it's time to quit, then you need to quit. And that's just for a day. You know, it's if you are, excuse me, if you're intending to hike from Springer to Gooch Gap, for instance, or Gooch Shelter, but you get to Hawk Mountain and you're just worn out, don't push yourself. If you push yourself too hard, you won't make it, because your body will rebel and your body will quit on you. I've had a couple of days where I've started to push, remembered my own advice, stopped, and I'm still here. And one of my subscribers has called me the Energizer Bunny. Thanks, Bohanabe, by the way. It's a compliment. I'm not one of those long mileage people. I'm 68, and I'm still here. So it's, you listen to your body, or you go home, bottom line. So remember that as the next bit of advice. And next, this isn't just to prep you up for an AT through hike. This is to find out if you really want to do this, or more correctly, if this is the right thing for you to do. Every year, about 3,500 people start to do a no-bow through hike. And what happens, as many as about 800, think about this, about 800 people think, I'm going to hike 2,200 miles, and they quit at the 32-mile mark. Think about that. These are people who want to hike the Appalachian Trail, or think they want to hike the Appalachian Trail, and quit after 32 miles. I attribute that to a couple of different things. One is poor planning, poor thought, poor research, and not understanding what's really involved here. I can tell you that if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I got my ass kicked a couple of times. And it's only because I really, really want to do this that I'm still here. There's a payoff. The payoff of some of the views that I've seen are just breathtaking and worth the hassle. There's an old saying, and I think that it really, really fits here, and that is, if you really want to do something, you'll find a reason. If in your heart you don't really want to do it, you'll find an excuse. So, or an excuse not to do it. So think about that, and remember that 800 people quit at the 32-mile mark. This is not easy. I've done a lot of interesting things in my life, and you know, I can tell you for sure this is probably the toughest thing that I've ever done in my life. So don't do it just as a flip, just as a whim. Because if somewhere in your heart you don't really want to do this, you won't finish it. So think about that for a bit. Finally, a few things before we really get into this. And that is, I think it's important you don't decide ahead of time before you go through some of this that you definitely want to hike. Look at it as, I think I might want to do this, so you want to explore it. That's going to give you the options later on. Now, I really recommend you do hike part of the Appalachian Trail. I don't necessarily think you should try to do a through hike. Through hike's a different story, but to get out for a week is really fun, and if you pick your right spot, it's a really, really terrific thing to do. Also, if possible, give yourself at least a year to prepare. I waited about 2.5 years, and although I wish I could have started last year, the 2.5 was not bad. If you can give yourself a couple of years, that's good. Now, people can do it with almost no prep at all. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So think about that as well. And finally, before we get into this, remember that unless you're single, an orphan, and a lot of other things, other people are going to be affected by the decision to hike the Appalachian Trail. So at very least, make sure you talk to them about it and make sure that they understand you recognize the sacrifices that they're making of staying at home and keeping the home fires burning, as it were, and supporting you in this AT through hike endeavor. Because if you do that, and they know you recognize that, it will make things go a little bit easier. So, having said all of that, we get into the real deal. Okay? So, I hope you decide to do it, but make sure you know that that's what you want to do. So, I'll talk to you in a little bit about this. Hawk out. Hello again. So, item number 1 so you think you want to hike the Appalachian Trail, do you? The first task is to read everything you can about the Appalachian Trail. That is, go to every website you can, White Blaze, Appalachian Trail Conservancy's website, everything you can. Read lots of books. I recommend reading every trail journal you can. If you only can read one trail journal, I really recommend AWOL on the Appalachian Trail by David Miller. Yes, AWOL, you'll hear that name occasionally, every once in a while. He also produced the AT guide and was producing it until just recently. Reading everything you can, different trail journals, is going to give you all kinds of perspectives. It will give you the details, the technical details of what the trail is like. You'll hear variations of distance. I think this year it's 2,192 point some miles. I always call it just 2,200 miles because, believe me, you're going to walk a lot more than that. Probably 24, maybe 2,500 miles at least. So it's a good idea to take notes too. If you decide you want to read Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson, I would say do so with the caveat that this is entertainment. It's not really talking about what the AT is like. So remember that if you do read it. Reading this stuff is going to be an important first step. It's going to give you your introduction to the AT, and it'll start to put into your head exactly what it's like and exactly what your experience just might be. So heed well different people's experiences. Like I said, AWOL on the Appalachian Trail is probably my favorite, with a close second being Where's the Next Shelter by Gary Sizer, or Green Giant. They're both good people, and both of them really give a pretty decent perspective of what hiking the trail is like, with you know, their personality involved, but very little ego. You know, they're just trying to show you what the thing is like, and that's really the important thing about a lot of it. I have read a couple of trail journals that it's more about ego and look at me, what I can do or what I'm doing. So that's your first task. So there's your homework. Read everything you can about the Appalachian Trail and take notes and take it seriously. So stay tuned for number 2. Hawk out.